You referenced this when we were doing the Divine Ugachukwu commitment video yesterday, but I hadn't read it yet, and we were kind of on the fly, and I don't know, I didn't want to go all in on it, but I had time after that video wrap to actually read what Nick Kalinowski was saying. Nick Kalinowski is someone that we reference all the time on the show at Cali Drafts. He does awesome NBA draft work, NBA draft content, and you should all go follow him. He puts a lot of good stuff out. The combine scores data is something that Cali Drafts is huge on. He chimed in after Divine Ugachukwu committed to Michigan State with a pretty harsh stance or harsh take on Divine. I'm just going to read it real quick. He said, quote, Miami was a genuinely awful team last year, and this guy was a pretty large part of it. 6'3" guard who cannot shoot whatsoever, whose on-off splits indicate that Miami was actually a better defensive team with him off the floor. I don't like this at all from Michigan State. And then he put a tweet below it with his model, with some data and some screenshots. And he said the model isn't a fan of this one either. Statistical profile reads like a poor defending center. Having this bad of a season, then taking a step up in competition will likely require at least a red shirt. I will say his model is something I really think has good substance to it. Like anytime he posts information from his model, it's usually something I genuinely do put a lot of weight on. It's got game scores, and I don't know. You can just go look at the screenshots here if you want to see what he's talking about. But shout out to Nick, always giving good information. What you're a Michigan State fan, obviously. You don't love the Divine ad. You've made that clear. Do you think this is a fair interpretation from Nick, or does it seem a little harsh? What's your take on it?
I think this is a fair interpretation of what he is right now. But I think the hoping is that, at Michigan State with better coaching, with a more stable situation that he can improve. But I think this is a fair depiction of what he is right now. Yes.
Which, I mean, in Nick's words, is basically a guy who is a pretty large part of an awful team and a big reason why they were awful. That's a fair interpretation, you think?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think that's a fair interpretation. And I love Nick's model and his data, and I love 99.9% of what Nick puts out there. I think it's a little, no, I don't want to say disingenuous, but it's not the right mental approach to look at any player's game score data from last year on Miami and assign that like they're responsible for Miami's season. Miami's season was a total dumpster fire shit show that started and ended with some of their highest paid players on the roster being in and out of the lineup constantly. Divine Ugachukwu played more because he had to, not because Miami was like trying to play Divine Ugachukwu in a big role. Like this season went off the rails.
I feel like they were, though.
I totally disagree.
Like, I mean, guys like Jalil Bethea didn't even play for most of the season.
Right. But that's early in the season, he was playing at least as much as Divine, right? Like things went haywire, is my point. At the beginning of the season, before all of like Nigel Pack disappearing and all this shit, Divine was playing 15, 10, 15, 4, 8, 14, 4, 9 minutes a game. He was like barely a part of this. And then once it became a very clear thing that Miami was horrendous, all of a sudden down the stretch, he's playing 30 minutes and Nigel Pack's nowhere to be found. Guys are just gone.
Mm.
So I guess all I'm trying to say is there's a little context here on like, yes, Miami was one of the worst teams in the country. Not because it was by design that Divine Ugachukwu was a starter on that team, but because everyone's hand was forced, their coach left mid-season, players opted out, and Divine, as a true freshman, was still there and needed to come in and play minutes. Like you have to play five guys while you're losing 20 games, right? Like, so I just like it. You talked about it. The hope is like you put him in a new system with a Hall of Fame coach, and maybe it looks different. But I don't even think you need a new system or a Hall of Fame coach for it to look different, is all I would say. And I would point to this as an example of this. This sort of feels to me like isolating I don't know, Namari Burnett or Will Cheddar or Terrace Reed from Jawan's last team and being like, that team stunk. This guy was a huge part of it. He stinks. And now Terrace Reed went to UConn and gave them like really good things. Namari Burnett stayed under Dusty May and gave them really awesome things. Those guys are just better players than Divine. I'm not comparing the caliber of the player, but I think using game score for a guy who was asked to play a role they didn't even want him to play on a team where everything imploded around him and the coach left is like pretty misleading of what his potential is.
It's fair. That's it's fair.
You're not buying it still.
No, I'm just
Why?
not moved, man. I'm just not moved, and I don't know. I think I've reached my divine intervention on how many videos I can maybe do on. I just think it's a very meh ad. If he turns into something, then like that'll honestly I think be somewhat of a hoop miracle, and I'd love to see it. But I think that he is a mid-major player.
Okay. I guess all I would say is just like not to tell Nick how to tweet. Nick should tweet whatever he wants. I love Nick's Twitter. He's great. I wouldn't want to put my claim out there that Tom Izzo can't take a mid-major player and turn him into something. That's just not a hill I would die on. Like a true freshman on a shit program plucked by Tom Izzo to be a backup point guard. Like I just wouldn't die on the hill that that guy's horrible. I wouldn't want that receipt out there. Like he was horrible last year, no doubt. We all agree. But like it feels like that take could only backfire almost, and it's not even a take; it's just data. But even if he's right, I don't think that's something we go back to and we're like, he knew. It's kind of it just feels like a little overly aggressively antagonistic of a bench guy, you know?
Yeah, I mean the only thing is sometimes the whole like Izzo will figure it out, he'll make it work thing can only go like so far,
For sure.
you know.
For sure. I think he deserves a lot of benefit out of that after last season, though,
He also plucked two mid-major guys last year that were bad.
and ran away with the league with him.
We owe Jace so much for what he has done for this program. He saved my life. He saved Michigan. He truly did.
I guess that's true.
Truly did.
Never forget that you called him a nepotism baby, by the way, and said he stunk.
Yep, I did.
To the point that Jason Richardson was DMing you.
Yes, as well as Miss Richardson was.
I love our life, man.
Mhm.
Shout out to Nick for what it's worth. Go follow him. I don't like disagreeing with you, Nick. I'm sorry, and I love you.